morning, everyone. Welcome back to Sun Up on 7. It's my pleasure to have you here join us in a very interesting conversation. We're going to be talking about mental health today. Before we get into our conversation and our amazing guests, let me remind you that today is World Down Syndrome Day. And to commemorate the event and show solidarity to persons with Down syndrome, you have to wear odd socks. I cannot show you. Can I?
The flexibility.
Since we can't show the picture, I'm showing you. So if you're getting ready for your work day, going to school, put on some socks, some funny socks in solidarity for everybody that is with Down syndrome. So we're going to have a conversation later on about that. But let's get into the conversation about mental health with Miss Amy Jex. Miss Amy, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
It's a Monday,
And
right?
a big Monday, Nacho. Different than we're used to.
Definitely.
Right, and we also have Miss Kimani Quiroz. She was the winner of the Mental Health Day competition. How are you feeling, Kimani?
I actually feel a little nervous.
Okay.
That's okay. We're having a We're gonna have fun on this show for this interview. It's a conversation.
Yes, but congratulations on winning.
Thank you.
That's very big. We look forward to hearing what was behind your speech, right? So, good. Let's get started, Ren.
Yeah, let's get started. I think we should tackle maybe about the speech and then go into a little bit more nitty-gritty of what's happening when it comes to mental health and our country, because there's a lot on the road. But I really want to, get that conversation on, because you guys came on the show last year when we had World Mental Health Day.
Yes.
And that is October 10th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
gold star for me. Yes. But then we also had the speech competition, which I was really looking forward to, because I haven't been directly a part of it, but I was present for one of them a year, and it was beautiful to see the schools come out and talk about the different mental health issues. And the last year's theme was mental health in an unequal world. So we have Kimani here. You are the first place winner. What specifically in your speech did you talk about when it comes to mental health in an unequal world?
Well, my speech was about child victims of domestic violence and how domestic violence affects the child in different ways.
Oh, so did you do any kind of research? Like, how did you go about drafting that speech?
Yeah, I had to do a little bit of research.
Is there anything that really stood out to you that you were like, wow, I did not know that we need to make a change, or this is awful, or what can be done?
What stood out to me is how a child is treated. Like,
How a child is treated.
Yeah.
Was there like any, other than doing your research, was there like a personal drive behind doing this theme in their speech?
yes,
Can
I
you
got
mind sharing
a little help from my counselor, Miss Bennett, and my vice principal, Miss Abigail.
Okay, is this something, when we talk about child abuse and its impact, is this something that you see in your community that you thought, it's important for me to have this conversation and highlight it for people to...
Yes.
Do you mind sharing more about that?
Around my neighborhood, I see it most of the times, because sometimes I live very close to people, so I hear like kids crying all the time, screaming, and a thought just runs through my head, like, I can't imagine what they're going through. Like,
It's probably extremely hard, to be around that, even if you're not in the situation, but to hear the cries, the screams, to know that you're not in a place to be able to actually physically help or anything. In your speech, because I know there's like a wide range of, what the speech encompasses, were there any recommendations, or for you as a young person, seeing these things, living through them every single day, with watching the pain from other people, what would you want to see our leaders do, or our different NGOs do when it comes to helping children break free from that suffering of abuse?
well, I would want to see them, like, help them, like, do something for them. Seeing them like this is it just breaks my heart, seeing them like this. Like, the leaders aren't doing anything to help, and it's not right.
Most definitely. I think it's a hard thing when you don't see actual, how to say, results happening, because these things are happening day in and day out, and they can't reach everybody. So definitely there are cracks that you don't reach. So
Right.
to have young people talk about these things and be able to shed light on what we're not seeing on a day-to-day basis. Like some people might not even see this as a big issue.
Right, and it also comes from the fact that they're like, oh, young people, they don't know what's going on, let's not give them the space to have the conversation. So thank you for you and your organization coming
And
up.
that's
giving
why
that space.
it's important to have young people present their perspective on the theme for mental health for every year. So when we get their perspective out there, and I know we have a little clip to show and share of how dynamic Miss Kimani has been on the video, why she won the video competition, because it comes across how important the topic is, not just for society, not just for the people who can do things about it, but also for the young people who experience it, some of them directly, some of them indirectly. The topic was mental health in an unequal world. So we have these topics. See, we have Miss Kimani on there sharing a little bit. And we get to hear about their experience, their research, how they relate to the topic of mental health. And it's so much more powerful, especially when we're trying to reach a platform of younger people. And I know you've worked a lot with UNICEF, Ms. Renata, where, we're doing the HAT project. We're trying to find out the phone one. What is it that young people are experiencing so that we can help them as well? And by having a platform like this, we get to give them a voice.
Definitely.
We get to hear from them directly what their needs are. And as we know, if there is no demand, there will be no supply. So we're trying to make sure that the younger people have a voice, so they speak up, and we create a demand so that we can meet their needs.
Most definitely. Having them in that conversation.
Yes, definitely. I'm curious. So after getting this speech and the awareness that comes from it, what follows from your organization?
From us, we create awareness. So when we work, we have representatives from the School Counselors Association on our board. We have representatives from different community NGOs and segments of society. We have stakeholders from the government on our board. So how we follow up is we talk to them directly. So if this is a topic, we can present it to the other group. So throughout the year, as we have representatives from the school counselors, that's mostly with high schools. They do have representatives from sixth forms and from primary schools as well. And what we do is we try to see what themes, how we can support each other as well. When it comes to the government stakeholders, we also see, and you mentioned the topic of homelessness, and that is something that since the beginning of the year, we've been working along with different areas of government to see how we can address it. And the problem is that it's not just where do you put these homeless people? These are human beings with rights, and we have to support that they are independent human beings with rights. And so how do we structure a system where they have somewhere to go? How do we structure a system where they have support? How do we structure a system where if there is a mental health crisis, we can get appropriate response? And unfortunately, that's not a short-term answer.
Definitely.
We have to restructure the legal system. We have to make sure that there are facilities where you can take somebody. So if you have a medical crisis, what do you do?
If you have go to the doctor, I guess. Right.
And what if you have a medical crisis, let's say at 1 o'clock in the morning?
You go to the emergency room?
And what if you don't have a car to go to the emergency room? How do you get there?
Call the ambulance.
Exactly. How do you call the ambulance?
With a phone, with credit.
And so how do you get to the, where do you call if you have a phone with credit?
I go to a neighbor if you don't have a phone with credit.
But who do you call?
Yeah, so we can see the different
There's
complexities.
definitely a need for support.
So if we struggle how to get attention for a physical medical emergency, how do we know, where do people go to for a mental health crisis?
Right.
And it's the same thing that we do, but we have to make it more robust, where we have the police response, where we have somewhere to take that person, Because sometimes if we can lobby, we're trying to work to see how we can make the hospitals and clinics more robust in their response. They do already have a system. The police already has training for a mental health crisis. It's just how do we bring it all together? So we'll get calls on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. What do I do with my neighbor? What do I do with this guy at the corner? What do? I see this person requires support. How do I support? At the MHA, we had a big conversation last week because a business called and reported, we have a person who isn't violent but is around, and we would like to know how to support this person further. And the best we can say is between 8 to 5, you call Port Loyola Clinic in Belize City. In the other districts, you call your polyclinic as well. Every clinic has PNPs and mental health support staff. And the problem is once they're there, then they can get attention. But how do you get the person there?
And Amy, and I'm sure that's it's very minimal the amount of people that would call. I'm just assuming that would say, hey, how can I support?
Or help.
Right, because I've seen the way how people get treated, and I'm like, we aren't the best humans out there.
No.
Right? So it's like, how do we get people to care and build that empathy?
By having these conversations.
Yes.
And what Ms. Kimani is saying, she had her topic specifically on child victims of abuse.
Right.
Right? But we also had other topics, including homelessness, including mental health, because what we see, and you mentioned, I think, Renata, at the beginning of the segment, we see a lot more homeless on our streets right now.
Yep.
But doesn't that call back to our topic from last year of mental health in an unequal world, where because of the gaps in that were further not created, but the gaps that were further emphasized by COVID, you see the people who could get help and support could get the help and support, and the people who had trouble getting the help and support have even worse opportunities to get the support they need. So with what we do at the Mental Health Association, we support the Welcome Resource Center. At the corner of Vernon and Tebrew Street, it's a green building. If you want support, it's a drop-in center for people who don't have homes. We offer meals every day. For now, I think we offer 2 and a take-home snack for the evenings. And you can get a shower there. You can get clean clothes. You can get face masks.
That's beautiful.
And we need support from the community.
Yes.
We need more people to care. And so by coming on these venues, by speaking about it in our community, we raise more awareness of it. And it just so happens to coincide that World Mental Health Day and World Homelessness Day are both on the same day.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Amy, I want to bring Kimani into the conversation as we talk about support. Kimani, how, in your view, how can I'm still going back to your speech, which talks about children that are victim of domestic abuse. Within your school, for instance, what are ways how we or you all can support each other, and what kind of support do you need for that to happen?
Well, in ways that we support with each other, we some of us can relate to them, and some of us can just be sympathetic. Like, we give them little tokens, help them, because at our school, most schools, kids going through being victims of child domestic violence, they act out in different ways. Like, they fight, sometimes they sleep, and sometimes most of them get in trouble. So we try to help by getting them out of trouble, helping them, being a friend towards them.
Like it. And what's very important, and I like that you mentioned that your school has a counselor, which is, I can say it can be a privilege because you do not hear about schools having counselors, right? So it's very good to hear that. Bren, you had something to say?
No, most schools actually do have a counselor, but they do a shared role where they're actually life skill teachers too as well. And we've gotten to that issue where I do not like that at all because I don't think a counselor should have dual responsibilities. I feel like you should be counseling, life skills should be a next thing because it's already a heavy weight to be able to be a counselor, to be responsible for how much 500 or plus students for a school. But I want to get into just the idea, same thing that Kevin was talking about, support. I think it's so necessary as young people that we offer that support. I think sometimes we kind of are in our own bubbles where we're not worrying about other, that kind of way, you're not worry about other people. Like, this is your own problem, this is my problem. Like, we keep our problems to ourselves, right? And so for you, with your friends, with your colleagues, with your teachers and so forth, what do you say when it comes to support? Do you think that people are more supportive? What do you think should push people to get supportive? Like, what have made you, I mean, I know you said you had a personal experience hearing these things, so that made you have that spark of interest. But for other people out there, what do you think would be a driving force or something with your friends or so that would allow them to have that effort or that need to want to support and help out like you've helped out in this speech? Because you might not see it as something big, but being able to create awareness is huge. The first step to changing behavior is just understanding you to behave in a wrong way.
Building empathy.
Yeah, building the empathy. So you've done a tremendous part already just creating this speech and making sure people hear your voice. So in that regards, like, how do you think other people can be able to get to that support stage?
I think maybe if they like lived where I lived or experienced what I've experienced, maybe they would have been a little more sympathetic and supportive.
I think exposure is super important for people to be aware, because a lot of times we think we know something or, I know that they're both or so, but when you're hearing cries or you're seeing abuse, you're seeing bruises, you're seeing the pain, you're hearing these stories, it changes your perspective of what you see as important and needed to change.
And it's important to keep that voice in the community, because what we do is we switch, as you mentioned, on the international news, it focused away from Ukraine and it became about this royal scandal, right? So what we have to do is remind people on a consistent basis. We came here in October, we're here in March, and we have to continue this. So by Kevin wearing his funky socks today, he's bringing...
Thank you for acknowledging that. Thank you.
You know, you're bringing something. When we wear orange, we talk about women, and every single thing that we do, we don't want to forget. There's so many things to remember. Mental health is such a huge topic.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And so we feel, and it's a conversation I've had with a couple of people lately. It's like, how do we keep up with all these national days, National Donut Day, National Down Syndrome Day, it's like, how do we keep up with all of them?
Yeah.
And it's not on you to keep up on all of them. It's for you to figure out which ones you find important and keep those going year long.
Yeah.
So
I like
you
that.
keep reminding people, these are the things I stand for. These are my soapboxes, And when you have your soapbox to stand on, you get to come and you get to talk about these things that are important to you. So for Ms. Kimani, she's making this, I've seen this and it's something personal to me. And as we do our speech competition this year, we're changing the format a little bit from last year, where, initially we had it on the stage, we had it at Civic or at SJC, and we have the students come up, and, we move with the times because of COVID.
Yeah.
And so what we're trying to do now is we're trying to get more entries in, so we'll change our format. Instead of 5 to 8 minutes, we'll do 3 to 5 minutes, and we'll cut it down so that we can have more people enter
like
the
that.
competition. Yes. And we'll see, because we usually go along with what the topic for the World Mental Health Day is. So we'll see what
so we
comes
definitely
up.
look forward to what's going to be happening. And as I wrap up this segment, I want to go back to something that you mentioned, that it's important to have these spaces here where we're able to openly talk about mental health. A lot of people have reached out to us on Sun Up on 7 saying, thank you for having the conversation. By you having it, I put myself on check and I feel a lot better. So thank you, Amy, for you have been one of the persons that have been here to talk about mental health. So we're always grateful to have you here on our set.
When you bring on someone with an exercise segment, that's taking care of yourself. When you
Right.
talk to someone about cooking, That's like a self-care segment. What do I do for fun? When you talk about, when you bring in someone who does hobbies and creative aspects, art, that's taking care of themselves. And all of these, what we can see is as they fit into your mental health, they fit into your physical health, they fit into your wellness, because you want to be well in all dimensions of life.
Definitely.
Very true.
And so if
Definitely.
you are off financially, if you are off environmentally because, you know, there's a lot of trauma in your neighborhood, if you are off, let's say you don't, your relationships with your friends are a little bit off, it affects you, it affects your physical health, it affects your mental health. So we seek wellness, and you want to look at all the different aspects.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Holistic
Yes,
wellness is so
definitely.
necessary in all aspects. Start off small. Don't think that you can tackle everything one day. Rome is not built on one day, and your wellness is not going to be built in one day either, honey bun. But try to do little things every single day. Make conscious efforts. Have the conversations. Be okay with not being okay and figuring out what you need to be okay at a better point. But I thank you so much, Ms. Amy, for being here. I thank you so much, Ms. Kimani, for being here. I truly
And a shout out
appreciate
to
it.
St. Vernon High School as well.
Yes.
That you're representing. We're so proud of you.
Deidre
Congratulations.
over there to wait patiently, like
Yes.
she's
No.
big support
Yeah.
and everything.
St. Vernon has won a lot of competitions.
There we go.
What? Oh, big up yourself, Sadie
up
Vernon.
yourself.
You doing your thing.
So-
We got the counselor in the back here, like, ooh,
Yeah.
ooh, okay.
And we also got a commercial to go to, right?
Oh, yes, we do have a commercial to go to. All good things must come to an end, my darlings. But with that, I thank you again for being here. We're looking forward to great things from you, Kimani. Continue doing great stuff and making these conversations available for all people to hear. Talk to your tribe, talk to your community, and make your mark. We're so very much proud of you.
Thanks.
And so with that, we go to our commercial break. And when we are back, we're going to be talking about a women's outreach organization, finding out about everything that you can be able to be involved in. It's Women's Month. Let's continue that conversation. Stay tuned.